Any favorite stories of working with Harry?
Is it hot in here?
Yeah.
There's no oxygen.
No, no.
In fact, if someone wants, can you maybe open that exit door? It might give us a draft.
Yeah, there's no
Maybe
like
prop
pad,
something
there's
open.
nothing in here.
It smells like a gymnasium.
It's an
Oh,
and for a new building, that's outrageous.
Want me to just hold it?
Oh, you know what? There should be something there that has some wheels on it. Kimmy, look on the ground.
Hey, Linda, how am I doing?
Great.
Okay.
Dolly. Oh my God, it's so nice out there.
Let's all go outside.
It's snowing in Chicago.
Maybe in Toronto too.
Thank you.
So am I. I hope.
Every scene I did, anytime I worked with Andy or Harry, it was fabulous. I don't have a favorite, but probably the spelunking, where he was coming down because I couldn't keep a straight face.
I think I know what you
It
mean.
was so cute.
What about your fashion show?
No. I didn't like that so much. Too much wool. And then when Coop was in the hospital, anyway, we were in Sunland. It was 118 degrees, and we were in a deserted hospital, and the thing broke, the air conditioner with the tubes that are 4 miles long, and then there was hardly any air coming in. I like oxygen, sorry. I'm really partial to it. And I had wool tights, a wool skirt, wool sweater, a wool vest, and a wool jacket. 118 degrees outside. Man. But acting's like that. I've never been comfortable. It's either hot or cold. Like if it's cold, you're in a bathing suit, and if it's hot, you're in wool.
They normally shoot like you're not shooting the season that
Yeah,
you're.
opposite
It's
season.
the opposite. So when it's summer, you're shooting winters, and you're
Right.
bundled up. It's miserable.
Right, that's why we get paid the big bucks.
Caleb, I'm curious because you had this relationship with David going in. What kind of decisions did you make in terms of the way that you were going to direct your episodes, knowing also that David himself has a particular tone and style that you aren't necessarily imitating, but maintaining a certain sort of continuity as the directors, change out over the episodes?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think David and I have a similar sense of humor, even though, I just sort of got the show immediately in terms of, it's such an amazing mixture of, it has an underpinning of seriousness that, and yet he's somehow able to sort of get this humor in there and not destroy the seriousness and the depth of the drama that's going on with the humor. I mean, it's really sort of it's really a remarkable balance that's very difficult because I've watched other people try to do it in films and in TV shows and everything, and it's very hard to get that balance. But I think part of it is understanding. There's a certain wish fulfillment on the part of an audience that has to be. They have to be characters that you like, and you have to be rooting for those characters. And if you do, you can get away with things. I mean, I've always said about, because I'm primarily a cinematographer, and in the film that I shot, The Natural, there's a point at the end of that movie where Robert Redford hits a home run and the lights start exploding and everything, and it's not real at all, but you have taken the audience to a point where they so desperately want that to happen. And I think you feel for the characters in Twin Peaks in the same way, and you accept their foibles. I remember doing the episode with Kimmy where her sister is there with the baby, and absolutely absurd, and yet you just feel so much for these characters. And
Yeah.
you so want that relationship to be fulfilled, and it's true of almost everything. I mean, you know, the way David would define, you know, Agent Cooper, and you know, his love for coffee, and I mean, if you know David, there are a lot of things that go on. I mean, the business of Tibet and the dreams and all this stuff. It's very much David. You know, so you know, I mean, I think probably just from having spent a lot of time with him when we were in school together and having an understanding of it, and brought me to an appreciation of what that was. I think I got better as I did. I mean, I really liked that last episode that we, that was shown. Where, because working with Ray Wise was just great, because he had this ability to be both very poignant and totally insane at the same time. And he, I mean, that it was really fun to work with him, and I mean, that's the other thing too, is that you really, I mean, the greatest thing I learned about directing is that you really rely on your actors, because the actors know the characters better than anything, and you can go to them and say, well, what would, how would you do this, and what would happen here? That was always, the fun of it. And I think it's also, the things that you add to it. Like, I mean, in the first episode that I did, there was a scene where, where where he kills the bird, and Waldo, and there was such a thing about, because I really studied everything that went up to that, and there was such a thing about donuts, and they always had the yum donuts brought in. It was like part of everybody. It was part of actually the crew's diet as well. So, I always thought it would be really great to, like, what if you killed Waldo, and the cage is rocking back and forth, and there's blood spilling on the donuts. And of course, David goes, oh yeah, and I mean, I just think you would get into the psyche of it. I mean, I think everybody, would get into the psyche of it, and you could, then you start riffing on it. I mean, it's kind of a little bit like jazz directing Twin Peaks, because it really was, each thing would inspire something else, and each note would follow the next, and then something else would, then an actor would come in and say, well, what if you did this, and you go, and that's another note that would take it off in a different direction, and it's what made it so much fun, and also the fact that the complexity of the storylines. I mean, it's amazing the number of characters, because I have to say, if you look at a lot of films or TV shows where there are a lot of characters, it's really hard to juggle all those characters, and yet, in a very clever way, David and Mark wrote it so that you would know who they were, and each one of them had very defined personalities. All you guys, that once you saw them, you had an understanding of who they were, and it was defined almost in the first episode, which is really amazing. And then it would be redefined as new characters would come in, and they would then become part of that whole team.
Speaking of these defined personalities and rooting for characters, I'm curious, for each one of the actors, what was your favorite quality about your character?
The paycheck was good.
Nadine was so relentless. She was just relentless, and I love that about her. I mean, everyone just had to kind of deal. I like that she just, somehow thought it was going to work out.
I guess
No, you go ahead.
I think for Eileen it was that fact that she
did have, you know, a sort of dark side, but that she was sort of so repressed, and that she was kind of playing, you know, on top of it all the time, you know, this whole other thing, and you really didn't see it for the longest time. What was going on? So, I like that sort of a secret life.
I think with Wyndham Earle, even though, I mean, one of the most interesting aspects of him to me that he was quite psychotic, but in spite of that, on top of it, I mean, he was he had this tremendous sense of humor, and had a real sense of well, the way it was written, also the way that he was given to speak was very articulate and literate, in fact. And so you had this kind of madman speaking almost occasionally, sounding like Shakespeare or something. You know, it was an interesting contrast and kind of really sick kind of person, I thought, and a very eloquent person at the same time, and occasionally funny.
You know, I loved my role. I loved playing this role so much. It was honestly one of my favorites. I would have loved to have seen how it played out had it not ended so untimely, because I wonder if Lana really was smart, and perhaps she was playing everyone. Because what was her deal with all the old men? Really? What was that about? She was hugely offended. I was going to ask for your number. But I wonder what would have happened, because she was very wanted fame and all of those things. So I loved almost everything about this role. Loved it. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
I did.
They were.
You know, the more I keep thinking about those donuts, there are scenes where there's like 30 boxes in the little kitchen. How many people work at that share when you lay out 200 donuts each night?
Well, it's something Lucy did every night, and it was really important that they had the choices. It was when I was doing the pilot, and when we were doing the pilot in Seattle, David took me into the office room where they were all laid out, and he said, "I want you to look at this, Lucy. This is how she does this every night. It's very." And so it didn't matter, you know. This ties in with your other question, which is really kind of unanswerable. What your favorite part of the character? Because it was a whole other world. It's sort of like if I had a mom who didn't have a personality disorder, and you asked me what my favorite part of my mom was, I wouldn't be able to answer, because I could say, well, because she smells like flour or something. But in the world of Twin Peaks, there really isn't a favorite. It's like a whole other section already, so it's kind of a quantum answer I'm looking for, and it's not coming to me. I thought it would, but it didn't. Maybe on the freeway.
Okay, so if anyone wants to ask a question, you can start lining up at the microphone over there, just around the banister. And in the meantime, do you guys have any particular stories from set that you want to share?